Okay, welcome, C++. I'm at the home page again, and we're starting with Unit 1. And our Unit 1 lesson plan says to print and complete, so you should do that. And to print, you'll want to always download first, and then open in your browser and print from there. If you print from here, you're going to get a partial, just a screen full of information. So download the entire document and then print from whatever resources provided. Well, in Unit 1 or Chapter 1, you're going to be reading Chapter 1. It says skip pages 20, section 1.10 through 0.1 through the top of page 32 and continue reading then to the end of the chapter. I will go over these pages with you during our chapter recorded lecture, which is now. It introduces us to our first source code, complete customization and execution of a given sample program. Now, as you work through these lesson plans, they tend to be set up the same way. You get your beginning, read the chapter, do the self-review questions. The answers are provided. Study your terminology. Lots of information is given, so make sure you do that. And then your graded exercises at the end of the chapter, you place your answer only in a Word document, and then be sure to include your required header, of course, on any Word document. On pages 41 and 42, you'll see the self-review with the answers, and you'll see the exercises. Fill in the blank, true, false, and maybe some multiple choice. Now, for Chapter 1, we've assigned exercise 1.4, all of them, and there's parts A through J, fill in the blank. 1.5, all of them, a couple of responses, and 1.6, all of them. Upload that to your D2L correct assignment category by the suggested due date. Chances are there's going to be some sample shared code. I oftentimes share some solution files with you that are very close to or mimic or resemble logic or tips or hints that are used to work on and solve your program assignment for the chapter. And for Chapter 1, there is no shared code. Online discussion, most of the time, summer sessions, we don't have discussion, but look for that if there's an occurrence. And of course, during a regular semester, there could always be an online discussion. Kind of the same template, the project for the chapter, your program assignment. Well, Chapter 1, there is none, but for others, there are. And then, of course, your chapter test, and that is at D2L quizzes. If you have 2 attempts, the higher score will be posted. So let's take a look at Chapter 1. So I'm down page 2, looking at Chapter 1. And page 3. As I'm thumbing through, we're really looking at terminology, background, definitions, exposure to multiple programming languages. And then we get to section 1.10, test driving a C++ application on page 20. And this has to be customized a little bit compared to what the author told us with respect to what we actually do when we get ready to run a program in C++. And they also give different step-by-step directions for different operating systems and different devices. So you can skip up to page 32, that top paragraph, and begin again with section 1.11 and read the information provided, Again, study the terminology and get ready to complete your study materials, your self-review exercises, and the answers are always provided for the self-review. And then begin to look at your exercises and any assignments from the exercises through page 42. So with that, we're ready to begin taking a peek at our first Visual Studio program. So let's open your Visual Studio 2017. Should open again with your start, your just some information, nothing that we need from this page, so we can close the start page. We're going to create a new project. It is our first project. Remember that we are working with C++, so open the arrow to open all of the subcomponents of Visual C++ and choose the Windows Desktop. In this intersection, Windows Console Application. The name of this program is going to be Guess Number. Your location, we need to browse for that. Remember, on our PC, we have to be working on the C drive, and we're looking for C:, your first name. So I have my path C:, to Kate. And I'm just going to create a new folder here because I want to keep all of my Chapter 1 materials and all of my Chapter 2 materials, Chapter 3 materials. I want to keep them all in separate folders for file management and organization purposes. So I'm going to select Chapter 1 because that is the selected folder that I wish to have my guest number project placed in. So the path to my guest number project is going to be C:, first name, Chapter 1. Notice again that the name automatically populates to the solution name text box for us. Check to make sure that the create directory for solution is checked and click OK. It's working on creating this project for us, which means that at this designated destination, there will be a project by the name of Guess Number, and it will include many helper support folders and files that Visual Studio is preparing and placing on your hard drive. Now, this is your default code, and it's the default setup code, and we're just going to delete that. Our guest number.cpp, we aren't going to edit it this time. We're just going to click on it in our source files within our solution editor. Now, if you don't have the solution editor showing, go to View, and scroll down to Solution Explorer. Select it, and it's going to float somewhere on your desktop. Go to the title bar and Solution Explorer, right-click, and then Dock as a tab document. And that'll place it in that location for you. Now, as I said, this is automatically populated minimum code, populated by Visual Studio when we start, and it's not the code that we want. In fact, we have an already completed file that we're going to look at. So I'm just going to get rid of that by right-clicking in the source files, and I'm going to click Remove and delete it. And now kind of another neat thing, I'm going to do a minimize here, and a minimize here. Go to my Explorer, and recall that for Chapter 1, in our examples folder, we've downloaded our student data files. And in section 1.10, we're looking at an existing C++ example project. So let's go to our examples, your DITEL C++ coded examples. Open that. Unzip chapter 1 if you haven't. That means extract chapter 1. I'm going to look at the contents of chapter 1 in readable form. And in chapter 1 there is the guest number.cpp. This is a source code file. It's in C++ coded syntax language. And the .cpp stands for C++. Now I'm going to have to maximize here again. And I want to drag this shared file, which I downloaded, to the source files in the Solution Explorer of Visual Studio. And there it is. Click on it, and it populates with the code that's being shared with us by the author. Now, at some point in time, we'll be able to write code like this ourselves. But right now, we're investigating existing code shared by your author in chapter 1. And we're making sure that our Visual Studio has installed properly. So let's maximize our window. Now also, you may or may not see line numbers. Remember to include line numbers. Go back to your directions to install Visual Studio. And to display line numbers, we go to Tools, Options, and scroll down to the text editor. Open that up. Choose All Languages, General, and make sure that your line numbers is checked. And say OK. Another way to do that is in your quick launch search box at the top right-hand corner of Visual Studio. Type, what is it we're looking for? Line numbers. And a quick launch takes us right to the text editor, All Languages General. And sure enough, make sure that line numbers is checked if it is not. And click OK. Now that customization should be set as we continue in Visual Studio. Also, another item from our installing C++ handout, we need to make sure that the precompilers are turned off. And to turn off a precompiler, we look for the project. We're working on properties for this project. Pull down to C++. Open that subfolder, and we're looking for the subtitle precompiled headers. And then move over to the middle section. Click anywhere to resurrect in that top line your down arrow, pull down and choose not using precompiled headers and apply. And this is something you need to do to every project that we design. Also double check to make sure that they include standard AFX.H header is included in your source code. And we've made all of our customizations that we need to now. We have an existing file that we're designing in a C++ Visual Studio project. So let's do a file, save all. That saves all of the files, all of the headers, and all of the project helper files, and the project itself. So now we're ready to run our program. run or execute are synonymous. So if I say let's execute the program or let's run the program, you can use your green arrow in the local Windows debugger, click, and it'll start to compile. This may or may not appear from time to time, just say yes. And we have an error. Okay, what I did, I'll just close this for now. I had included and suggested that you include, as your notes say, to include the pound sign standard.h header file, but it was already included in this particular project supplied by the author. So when we're constructing our programs from scratch, we have to make sure that it is included. It was already included, so I didn't need to restate that in line 4. So let's do a file save all again with that edit and run with the green arrow button. And it says, now you'll see this is our black background command line screen. And at the command line, your flashing cursor, I'm prompted to say, I have a number between 1 and 1,000. Can you guess the number? Please type your first guess. So I'm going to say between 1 and 1,000, I'm going to guess halfway, 500. Now I know that's too high, so it's below 500. So I'm going to guess 250, about halfway between the two, and that's too high. So maybe 300, halfway between those two, and that's too high. Maybe 235, 200, too high, 100, too high yet, 50, too high, 40, too low, 45, too high, 44, 43, 42. Okay, finally, I was able to guess the number. Would you like to play again? And it's prompting and waiting for you to answer a Y or an N for yes or no. I'll type Y and enter. So again, I get to guess a number between 1 and 100. I'm going to say 500, too high. 250 is too low. 300, too low. 400. 400 is too low. 500 is what? Too high. So 450, 440, 451, 455, 456, 460, 470, 467, 466, 468. Oh, finally. Okay. I'm not a very good guesser, but you see how the program runs. And now we're prompted to reply on the command line with yes or no. The screen is held, waiting for us to do that. I'm going to say, no, I'm done. And the command line screen goes away. And I'm back at my working editorial window where I could change code, edit it, look at my logic, maybe check my math expressions, just edit again in any way if I need to. Otherwise, if I'm satisfied, I can go ahead and logically exit, which is File, Save All, File, Close Your Solution, and file exit the Visual Studio application. All right, that takes us through chapter 1, and thank you very much.